Most people believe that building a massive fortune in business requires chasing hypergrowth, cutting prices to crush the competition, or selling millions of units to the masses. Charlie Munger quietly looked at the exact opposite. Realizing that the most extraordinary wealth is built by companies that can quietly raise their prices without losing a single customer. Think about that for a moment. What kind of business possesses the absolute power to demand more money from its buyers, while those buyers willingly pay it, time and time again, without looking for a cheaper alternative? It sounds impossible in a world obsessed with discounts and cheap alternatives. Yet, it is the exact secret weapon behind history's most durable economic empires. If you have ever wondered why some brands remain untouchable while others fight in a brutal race to the bottom, press subscribe right now, because what you are about to discover will completely change how you look at every business around you. We live in an economic system that constantly whispers a very dangerous lie. The idea that if you want to win, you must be the cheapest. Every startup founder, every local store owner, and every corporate executive is fed the same advice from day one. Lower your margins, capture market share, and volume will save you. It feels logical on the surface. After all, human beings love a bargain. We hunt for sales, compare prices across 5 different tabs, and feel a quiet sense of victory when we spend less. So naturally, businesses bend over backwards to accommodate this instinct, cutting corners, trimming profits, and racing towards zero, yet away from the noise of the discount wars. A very different breed of company operates under a completely opposite set of rules. They do not compete on price. They do not apologize for being expensive. And when they raise their prices, their customers do not walk away. Instead, they stay, they pay, and they defend the brand as if their own reputation depends on it. How is that even possible? To understand this phenomenon, we have to look through the lens of one of the most brilliant, razor-sharp analytical minds of the 20th century. Charlie Munger, long before the world recognized him as the philosophical engine behind history's greatest investment partnership, Munger was obsessed with a very specific puzzle. He was not interested in flashy tech startups, temporary market fads, or companies experiencing a lucky spike in demand. He was fascinated by endurance, by the rare, almost mystical businesses that could withstand economic recessions, technological shifts, and fierce competitors, and still emerge stronger, richer, and more dominant. Munger realized that most investors evaluate a company completely backwards. They look at current earnings, growth rates, and balance sheets, treating a business like a math problem on a spreadsheet. But Munger knew that a business is not a spreadsheet. It is a living, breathing human ecosystem driven by habits, trust, psychology, and unshakable psychological friction. He spent decades studying why certain enterprises possess an invisible force field, a phenomenon known in economics as an economic moat, and at the very center of that moat lies the ultimate test of business strength: pricing power. Think about the last time you bought something that doubled in price. Maybe your morning coffee, a software subscription you rely on, or a specific tool for your work. Did you drop it instantly? Or did you grumble, pay the invoice, and rationalize why you simply could not live without it? That emotional friction, that moment where pain meets necessity, is where true business value is created. Most companies cannot raise prices because their product is interchangeable. If you sell plain white cotton t-shirts and you raise your price by 10%, your customer vanishes into the digital ether and buys from the competitor sitting one click away. You have zero pricing power because you have zero differentiation. You are a commodity, and commodities are slaves to the lowest bidder. Munger understood that the companies worth studying, the ones that compound wealth over decades, have engineered a reality where price becomes almost irrelevant to the buyer. They do not sell a product. They solve a deep, underlying human problem so completely that leaving them feels more painful than paying them. Consider what happens inside the mind of a business owner or a consumer when they face a price hike from an ordinary provider versus an irreplaceable one. With an ordinary provider, anger flares up, and the search for an alternative begins immediately. With an irreplaceable provider, a strange psychological shift occurs. The buyer assumes the problem is on their end, pays the bill, and convinces themselves that quality simply costs more. That is not just business strategy, that is master-level applied human psychology, and it forces us to ask a deeper, uncomfortable question. What makes a customer willingly accept paying more while feeling good about it? To answer that, we have to look at the hidden architecture of switching costs and why human beings are biologically wired to hate change, even when it saves them money. Switching costs are often visualized as financial penalties or complex contract terms, but the most powerful switching costs have nothing to do with money. They are psychological, operational, and emotional. Imagine a business that relies on a specific piece of software to manage its daily operations, client data, and financial records. Over 5 years, every single employee learns the quirks of this system. Workflows are built around it. Files are stored within it. The institutional memory of the entire organization lives inside that software ecosystem. Now, a competitor arrives offering a cheaper alternative, promising identical features for half the price. On paper, switching is a no-brainer. In reality, the business owner looks at the proposal, breaks into a cold sweat, and deletes the email. Why? Because the hidden cost of migration. The risk of lost data, employee training time, operational downtime, and the sheer terror of breaking something that currently works is infinitely higher than the extra money the current provider is charging. The software company has engineered a situation where staying put is the only rational survival choice. They can raise their prices every single year, and the customer will quietly absorb the blow. Trapped not by a chain, but by their own operational gravity. Munger studied these dynamics relentlessly because he knew that true compounding requires stability. If a business has to fight for its customers every single morning like a gladiatorial combatant, it can never build long-term momentum. It is constantly burning energy just to stay in the same place. But a business with supreme pricing power is like a fortress on a hill. The longer it stands, the deeper the moat becomes, and the harder it is for anyone to breach the walls. This brings us to a profound realization about how value is perceived in the modern economy. We are often told that people want affordable options, and millions of consumers certainly do. Entire retail empires are built on serving the budget-conscious masses through razor-thin margins and massive volume. That model works, but it is fragile. One supply chain disruption, one rise in labor costs, or one aggressive competitor with cheaper manufacturing can bring a low-margin giant to its knees. Munger looked at those high-stress, low-margin businesses and recognized them for what they were: a treadmill disguised as an enterprise. You run faster and faster, but you never actually arrive anywhere secure. In contrast, the companies that fascinated him operated with an entirely different rhythm. They did not need millions of new customers every year to thrive. They could grow their profits simply by extracting fair value from the loyal tribe they already had. Think about the psychological relief of running a business like that, where your revenue grows not by grinding harder, but by virtue of the irreplaceable value you have embedded into your customers' lives. Yet, achieving this status is not an accident of fate. It is the result of deliberate, often counterintuitive choices made years before the market ever recognizes their brilliance. It requires resisting the temptation to chase quick revenue, refusing to discount when growth slows down, and relentlessly focusing on depth over breadth. Most leaders panic when growth flattens out. Their immediate instinct is to slash prices, run promotions, or expand into new, unproven markets to manufacture the illusion of momentum. Munger's philosophy points to the exact opposite response. When growth slows, you do not cheapen your offering, you deepen your moat. You make your product so deeply integrated, so remarkably effective, and so emotionally trusted that the people already using it cannot imagine functioning without it. Because when you achieve that level of indispensability, price ceases to be a barrier and becomes a mere footnote.